I don't like using anybody else's computer.
Joe, you want a beer?
Live. No, thank you.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Oops. We don't want that. Robert Perez likes the Streamcast Network's video.
Should I hide this a little more? Is this cool?
That's
You don't have to hide it.
That's fine. How do
This thing's just spinning.
you go, Chris?
Very nice, thank you.
That is a New Zealand
Ooh.
Sauvignon Blanc.
I love Sauvignon Blanc.
That is called Kim Crawford. It's one of my faves.
Oh,
It's
wow.
good, isn't it?
It's like candy.
Yeah, there are people joining.
So we are at 5:30 there.
Do you know what that means, Frank Parisi?
Frank J.
Do you know what that means?
I do know.
It means, ready? Close up, camera 3. Frank, let's roll them. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Anatomy of an Entrepreneur. If you were in the pre-show today, must have been a fun time for you listening to us to talk about nothing. We have an awesome show today. We have on a great guest. I had never heard of him until Frank J. Parisi said to me, "Oh, I drink that guy's coffee. It's really good." But before we get started with our guest, Chris Vetter of founder of Sail Away Coffee, we have to take care of a little business. This show is brought to you by My Instant Office. If you need a chair, a desk, not to take home, but to work in, by the day, the week, or the month, you need an office, you need a conference room, come on in, sit down, and get to work. And this show is also brought to you by the Huntington Chamber of Commerce. Chris Vetter. Can you cut wide for a second? Chris Vetter.
What's going on?
Did you know that the Huntington Chamber of Commerce is the largest chamber of commerce on Long Island?
What's the second largest?
Seriously,
If you
dude?
told me the second, I would
Touche.
believe
But that's
it.
like touche. Touche
Yeah.
to you.
Who would be
I don't
it?
know. I'm just asking if you know that if it was the largest.
No, I had no idea, but
Well,
I could
is.
believe it.
It's the largest chamber of commerce on Long Island. And
Interesting.
I once went to the associate director of the Huntington Chamber of Commerce. Her name is Courtney Bino.
And who is that?
Courtney Bino.
Courtney?
By
The
no
Courtney?
means
Right.
is her name Courtney. No,
Right.
her name is Courtney Bino. She's the associate director.
And
And I
she's
said,
very
I
lovely.
need something to say about the chamber, something really impactful to our audience. And she said to say, it's the best darn chamber in the world.
And that is correct.
This is true story.
That's a true story.
So this show tonight and every week is to inspire, maybe if it's just one person, that if you have the right tools, the right guidance, and you have some drive, virtually anybody can be a successful entrepreneur. And that's why tonight we have on a very special guest recommended by digital marketer Rob Pepe of Good Pep Digital Marketing. He recommended a really cool guest. His name is Chris Vetter. He's the founder of Sail Away Coffee. He has quite a unique story on how he got into the coffee business. So without further ado, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's really nice to have you here. I'm wondering why you're not drinking coffee.
I was offered wine first, so I just took what was offered to me.
Yeah, I would do the same. So, but anyway, it's really great to have you here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I know it's a last minute thing, so I was definitely happy to.
Yeah,
Happy to be
and
here.
this is not going to be the only time we have you on, because it was like short notice. We'll want to plan next time, and we'll blow it out. We'll both blow it out, and we'll get bigger engagement.
Cool.
But we're really glad you came on tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's start with 1 minute, and I mean 1 minute, bio of who you are. And if you go past a minute, I'm going to cut you off.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I'll do my best. Long Island native, born and raised here on Long Island. Where I went to Half Hill School District, so I'm guessing we get a lot of Long Island people
Yep.
viewing. Yeah, so Half Hill School District all my life. Went to Farmingdale College, and then I was a touring musician for most of my 20s, and that's at least 30 seconds, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
So yeah,
I like that because sometimes I get people who will spout out the entire show
Yeah.
in that 60-second introduction,
Yeah.
and then I got nowhere to go.
Yeah. So I mean, pretty much local Long
Yeah.
Islander, born and raised. Yeah.
So let's start with you as a kid. And I know we don't have any pictures of you, but what were you like as a kid? Were you an introvert, an extrovert? Were you always into
No,
music?
definitely an extrovert. Yeah, very. It's funny because when I always look back at like my childhood, I always had that like entrepreneurial spirit. Just little things like I would ask to mow the neighbor's lawn, or I would go out and grab a rag and a bottle of Windex at like 7 years old. My mom wouldn't even know I left the house, and I was asking neighbors if they needed their windows cleaned. And it was just always this, I guess, drive of doing things on my own and trying to like raise money for myself. I had a few jobs here and there, and obviously that's what supported me throughout, being a touring musician. Obviously there's very hard to make money playing music, but just always doing things of like being creative and pretty much, trying to make money on my own.
Did you study business in college, or did you?
Yeah, I did. I went 4 years to Farmingdale, did business management. But ultimately, I feel like most of my business experience came from touring, and I was very much like the manager of my own band. From the merchandising to the booking to all the networking, and essentially those elements pretty much transferred right into what I'm doing today.
So let's get into that. Like, how did you develop that part of your career?
As far as
Like, were you a musician all the way through school, and then you had bands? What was the deal?
it was pretty much picking up a guitar at 16 and just having bands that I would idolize, and that was what I wanted to do.
Who did you idolize?
Oh, just like a lot of punk bands, a lot of hardcore bands, I was into, and just that touring lifestyle really, was attractive to me. Just that playing music, being in a different city every night, and just really traveling the world based off of songs that were written, with friends in a basement. Just that idea was, extremely attractive. And, we went ahead and did it. We did it with no label, no booking agency. Like, it was just like, let's take this to, wherever we can take it. And, pretty much that mentality is I definitely account my experience more in the touring world than I did like for college.
So, but here, to me, this is what's really cool. Most bands that start out, and I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. I don't know if it's coming off your phone or out of your headsets.
Everything's off over here.
Okay, so I
Everything's
just don't want it
muted.
to bleed. Okay, I can just hear something. It must be coming out of your headsets. So here's the part that I think most like bands, they're like local bands. They play in like the local bars. Here's what I find impressive. You traveled the world.
Yeah,
So how did you do that? And did you get paid to do that?
enough to make it to the next city.
How did you?
Yeah.
How did that all happen? And how were you able to pull it off?
Networking. So when we started touring, it was pretty much like the MySpace era, and that was largely responsible for how we got around. It was
Right.
networking with other bands, reaching out to different bands in different cities, and being like, "Hey, like we like what you guys are doing. This is similar to us. Can you put a show together? Cool. Can we get $100 for gas? And that was pretty much what got us rolling. And we toured the U.S. Many times over.
The whole
Canada.
U.S.?
Oh, coast to coast,
And
several
were you
times.
driving or flying?
Driving, yeah. No.
So you're driving.
$100 isn't going to get you very
Yeah,
far.
$100 is not going to get you very
Yeah.
far. So what did you do? How did you?
A van and trailer. Yeah, so that was.
But you're losing money.
Oh yeah, for sure. But gaining experience. That's
Well,
what
you
I had to
loved
tell
what
my
you
mom,
did.
right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just gaining experience. You did what you loved.
Exactly, and yeah, that was it was always like wanting to see the bigger picture, and obviously the idea was to make money and to make a career, which is very hard, which inevitably was led towards the end. It was a disciplined decision of, I love what I'm doing. I don't love it any less than the day I started, but I'm in my late 20s. I got to start making moves. I'm not looking to be a starving artist at 30.
Did you have thoughts that you guys were going to make it really big, or you weren't even thinking that way?
No, realistically, no. I never thought we were going to make it really big. The idea was to, become like play. It was never, honestly, it was the money thing was like never the forefront, which is probably stupid to a lot of people. But for us, it was achieving playing with bands that we idolize. So it was like getting on those larger tours. And
you did? Did you get on larger tours?
Yeah, relatively speaking,
like,
sure.
How big of an audience did you play for?
500 to 600 people.
That's a nice size.
Yeah, upwards towards 1,000 on some nights, but average 500-600.
Yeah.
On the larger tours that we played. But we would play. We started out and pretty much towards the end. We would play small clubs, basements, like wherever we could cultivate. Wherever we could build a following. And that was like always the thing. It's like, let's build a following, and then hopefully the money will come as a byproduct. But we probably needed a couple more years for the money to start rolling in.
What was it like to play in front of 500 or 600 people? Was that like a rush?
Yeah, especially for me. Like even day 30 on a tour, we'd be backstage ready to go in front. Every time I would get the shakes. Constantly.
You did?
I never
Really?
got used to it. But that's what made it exciting, and that's what made each show like as soon as you would get on, that feeling would disappear and it would turn into adrenaline.
Yeah.
So I never lost that feeling.
Did you play for some big names?
Play for some?
Did you front some big names?
Open for big acts?
Yeah.
Like I said, relatively speaking, yeah, definitely
in a certain
in our
niche.
genre, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and it was cool, but yeah, a life experience, something that I would never ever take back, and more often than not, wish I could set the clock back and relive. But it was definitely a life experience.
Yeah, but the fact that you got to do that
Right.
is so awesome.
Yeah.
And if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't change a day of it.
No, not at all. Yeah, I would have
Rather
ended
than
up.
questioning what if.
Yeah,
You did.
exactly. And I would have ended up with, I don't know, probably a boring job. I feel like I wouldn't have had the drive that I, or the creative element
Yeah.
that So that sort of opened up my mind towards different things, and which inevitably led to this.
When you weren't making a lot of money, were there points where you said, oh, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I love what I'm doing, but I just can't. I mean, did you ever feel like you were hitting a wall and you weren't getting further along?
With touring?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There was always that, we always wanted to be, get out with the bigger acts, and sometimes it was hard to do a great tour and then go back 2 months later on the road to what you were doing to smaller crowds. But it was we just kept going.
How do you keep yourself going when you feel like quitting?
I don't think I never felt like quitting. Discouraged, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but no.
How do you keep going when you feel discouraged?
I don't know. I never had a quitter's mentality. So to me, it was, if this is what I decided I was going forward on, there was, and plus you're trying to lead by example and keep 4 or 5 other people keep their heads up. So
you can't let them see you sweat.
no, I can't, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but meanwhile,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's a lot of stress.
I don't think I knew what stress was at 25, 26. No, it wasn't stressful at all. There were some sticky situations, but nothing
Tell us one.
oh God, driving 9 hours from, the biggest one that stands out is we did a drive from Seattle to Idaho. It was an 8-9 hour drive. And we showed up, and this was before, I don't even think, did I have a cell phone? Yeah, I had to have had a cell phone, but this was before smartphone,
Yeah.
right? So we showed up to a venue that we thought we were playing, and the promoter wanted to pick up his phone. There was no show promoted. Guy wasn't picking up his phone. So we drove 9 hours to a show that never existed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, in the middle of Idaho, and
No.
no money except I think we had just enough for like a 30-pack of Keystone Light, and
Well, then
And-
there's that.
yeah. Then there was that, and I was like, well, what are we gonna do? Cry about it, or are we gonna make this a memorable moment and move on?
Yeah.
Keystone, yeah, $18 for 30, can't beat it.
Did the Americans give up when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
Have we mentioned the name of the coffee company, by the way? I feel
Not
like
yet,
people have
but
been
we're gonna go
watching.
there, like, right now.
People are probably like, what is going on right now?
Is it called Starbucks?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So I want to transition to that. And so I'll tell you what, say the name of the coffee company.
Oh, yeah. Sail Away Coffee Company.
And where can we find you?
In stores all throughout Long Island and New York City.
Frank, can you create a lower third that says sailawaycoffee.com? Okay, thanks. So I appreciate that, Frank J. Parisi. So now here's what I heard through the grapevine, through a little bit of research. You would visit coffee places on every tour. Is that true?
Like stores, yeah. That
Yeah.
It was part of our morning routine.
And
so.
tell me about that.
Well, I mean, when we were touring in 2010, 2009, it was really right before the cusp of the whole third wave of coffee and, coffee shops popping up in local cities. So to
Around what
us-
year is this?
What? That we started touring? Or?
No, that you started going to the coffee shops while you were touring.
Well, I'm saying, so coffee stops were always our morning routine. But when you're on major highways and, different cities, it's
But like, give me a year, give me a time frame.
2010
Okay.
to 13.
Yep.
So essentially, like, it was coffee, right? There was no really, this was before, like, really your small town roasters started popping up. And so when we toured Central America, essentially that same morning routine we were doing there, except now we were in, like, the epicenter of coffee. And now it was small coffee shops and a totally different experience. And that's what drew me in. So it was like, what have we been drinking back home? And, like, what is this? And that's what led me on to the whole, craft coffee and seeking out different roasteries throughout the country and seeing what they were doing and learning what different origins had to offer and profiles, everything like that.
So it wasn't a passion yet,
No.
but it was something you liked.
Yes.
At what point did it start, did it converge and all of a sudden you started getting passionate about coffee? At what point?
I would say when I started brewing it for myself, I started cold brewing for myself. And
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, it's essentially, where iced coffee is brewed hot and then cooled down, and more times than not, it's leftover coffee that, you're drinking the next day. Cold brew is steeped over 24 hours in cold filtered water. It's a much smoother, less acidic product, therefore. So I started doing it in small batches by myself and had a different idea of what it should be versus some products that were on the shelf at the time. To me, it was supposed to be the smooth, really nice, drinkable coffee, and I was finding other products were strong and astringent and bitter, which is everything that I thought, it should go against. So, like, I guess you could say it was like a light bulb moment. I already had the idea that I wanted to start a brand. I was, like, toying with the idea of craft brewing and things like that, but I didn't know anything about beer or anything like that. That was like a short-lived moment, but there was always it was what's my next project, right? Like, so I felt like, on the verge of 29, and it was like, this sucks, but I got to give it up. I got to start moving on to something else, to, making a living. And
Were you already passionate about coffee at that point, or you just knew it's time to move on?
No, it was time to move on before the passion started.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So with that, I started becoming obsessed with it. Started making tons of batches, started sampling it to friends and family, and just learning more and having this idea and try to find my recipe. And then, with learning and educating myself and making countless sample batches, that's what, like, really drew me in. That with the whole trip to Central America as well. So that's what drew me in and grew into a passion.
So you weren't touring in Central America?
Yes, we were.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
So you were touring in Central America and kind of like developed.
Like I said, it was like our normal routine
Yeah.
throughout every tour,
Right.
except now we just happen to be.
And that's where the passion started.
Yeah, that's where yeah, exactly. That's what drew me into, like, this is a completely different experience to.
And was that also a point where you said, I think now that I'm thinking about giving up my music, I think this is an area that I want to pursue for a career? Is that what happened?
It was the idea of learning how to do something new and kind of, feeling that I could do it better than what was out there. And it just, like, everything sort of came together and just made sense. It was like, I want to start moving forward on this.
Was there a point in the in-between where you said, maybe I need to get a job?
No.
Never.
I knew that would be the dangerous move.
How are your parents?
Well, I
about
did have a job. I was working during this time. I would work between tours, but
Oh.
I left my job to do
What were
this
you
full
doing?
time. I used to work at a local eatery called Suburban Eats right in Melville. And that's actually where I was making small batches and sampling it to customers. Sorry, I
Oh,
left
that's
that
so
part
cool.
out.
So you had like this focus
It was
group.
exactly. It was before I knew what that was, that's what I was doing. And that led to farmers markets, and then that led to store shelves.
So your parents probably, I don't know how supportive or not supportive your parents are, but you were saying something about your mom before, about you were like in a band. Were your parents supportive of you being in a band?
No.
They were not supportive.
No, hated it.
And so now you'd say to your parents, I think I'm going to give up this.
Good, yes, do it. Whatever it is that's not touring, do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I guess they were like, okay, fine. He's not robbing banks. And he's giving up music. Do whatever you want, son. So they were kind of supportive of that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Definitely.
pretty cool. Joe, you have any questions yet? or
There's a
anything?
question from Mike Doty. He says he'd like to know,
What would you recommend to someone who wants to do what you do?
Oh, so breeding a competitor, so to speak, huh? Don't do it.
Do it.
Like you don't have enough already.
Yeah. What would I recommend to someone doing? Time and research and development and having a focus on what you're trying to present. So for me, it was smooth and a chocolatey beverage and something that was not astringent and bitter and stood alone. Didn't blend it. You have to have point of differentiation. So that would be the biggest thing. And then I don't know. This is a weird question.
That's okay, because later what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you that question later from an entrepreneurial standpoint.
Sure.
Rather than like a coffee business.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that later. Mike, thanks a lot for the question,
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
and keep watching. And by the way, did my check bounce last week? Mike's my banker.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. I would have given him some.
Yeah, Mike's my banker. Yeah. He's not a bad guy. So, so your parents were supportive. That's like a key ingredient in a successful entrepreneur is to have good support mechanism. Because that gives you kind of the confidence to continue moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had, plenty of confidence with music.
Well, you
and
already
she
sound
was-
like a confident
yes.
guy.
Well, with music, yeah. So my mom hated it every bit of the way, but she became supportive, of when I went to pursue this.
Right. So you move ahead, you start making batches. At what point did you go, I think this could work.
There was a certain thing I was looking for, like when I would sample. So when I would sample people, there was a look that I wanted. I didn't want not bad. I didn't want it this is good. There was a look I was looking for. And I didn't stop making batches until I got that look, unanimously.
So you had to have that consistent look from people like,
yeah, that.
Oh,
yeah,
I like this.
Yes, exactly.
I like coffee a lot, but I have trouble drinking coffee. I should have asked you to bring some, but...
I've got some.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Should have probably put some on the table, but
That's okay.
That would have been a good idea.
What kind of guest is he?
it was a
Where is it?
rush
No,
thing.
it's-
I didn't
it's
know
our
what I
fault.
thought
We
this was a
should-
podcast 10 minutes ago.
We should have had something out of
Yeah,
it.
he didn't know it was live 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I just found out it was live.
Yeah.
He walked in, he was like, oh my God, I'm going behind the firing line there.
I thought it was a podcast all day. I
Yeah.
could give you my keys if you want to run out and get it.
He can't. He's got a
No.
technical direct. So,
I could have done that, Frank.
but maybe Joe can actually run out.
Sure.
I
Because
could run out of.
Yeah, because if you could do that, we could actually show his product
That would be great.
on the air.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
and we'll just keep talking.
you guys keep talking.
Yeah.
and-
By the way, if your car is gone when you come back,
Well,
Joe's
it's,
having a little
it's okay.
financial
Don't worry,
issues.
Chris. They've only stolen the batteries off of my truck that's outside.
Yeah.
so
That's happened to me,
that-
too.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
17 years parking here.
you started. There was a look that you were going for.
Yeah, that-
And at what point did you go for okay? So, how do you know when it's time?
You just know. There was that look, So you're sampling the same people, like the same dozen people over and over again.
Oh, you did it with the same people. You didn't go
Yeah,
with different
mostly.
people.
Yeah, it was friends, coworkers, my boss. So it was constant, like every week. It was something new, something different tweak here and there, and that's it probably took, I would say, probably 5-6 months before I got it locked in.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it was pretty much from, I would say I started really testing in around Christmas time of 2014, and then I started doing farmers markets that summer.
Frank, what do you like about his coffee? Because you were you sound like you were a big fan when I told you that we're going to get this guy on.
Yeah, so you guys were my first experience with Nitro Brew.
Cool.
So I didn't really know that. I didn't really know what Nitro Brew was, and then I think I saw you guys at a fair in Huntington.
Go wide
And
go on that microphone. Go ahead, Frank.
so I never really knew what Nitro Brew was, and I think I was at a fair in Huntington, and I saw you guys have a booth there. And I
Fall
saw,
festival?
What was that?
Fall
Yeah.
Fest, yeah.
That's what it was. And I saw I saw people getting coffee off of a beer tap. I'd never seen that before, so it automatically sparked my interest. I went over, asked them what it was. They said it was Nitro Brew, and I tried it, and
Got the whole case.
then I found out you guys canned it,
Yeah.
and it was over from there. Now I drink it all the time, and they have it at Brownstones.
Yeah.
I eat breakfast there sometimes.
In
They
Northport?
have it on tap. It's amazing.
Yeah, right here.
So do you want one?
Let's put the whole thing out here so that
But I want you to see something that's very interesting. What that says. right?
Soul Bowl.
There you
yeah.
go. So you can hold that.
Yes, actually, I know Soul Bowl.
Do you?
The Better Bowl.
We should take some out.
It's upside down. Oh no,
I
it's
know.
upside
gotcha.
Take a couple out. We don't need all of it.
Wow, we're
Excuse
getting
my.
s-
Excuse my.
Yeah, we're looking at your butt.
My rear end.
Maybe you want to go on the green screen
Sorry
and
about
face the
that.
camera.
There we go. Good
Is that
lesson.
enough?
I'm gonna leave your keys right here.
Is that enough, you think? Or should we put more out here, almost like bowling pins?
Less is more.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, here. Thank you, Joe.
Yes, I thought
So
that was it.
Frank,
I thought
get back
that
to
was
technical directing.
Yeah. No,
Now.
I'll go back, but yeah,
You go back, I'm gonna-
highly recommend the Nitro.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought this out. We should have said something earlier. You had this thing going, and now you know it's time. Besides excited, were you scared at all? Okay, now I got to go make this stuff?
It's hard to be scared when you've got nothing to lose. So to me, it was just it's now or never. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put, all my chips are in. I'm going to take all my money that I've made working for the past, year, and start figuring it out.
And so that you never felt nervous about this? Were you confident that it was just going to work, or you just didn't care?
It was just the same mentality of I'm just going to keep pushing this until it does. So.
And then how was it received when you first rolled it out?
Great. So that was our test to market. When we started doing farmers markets, we did Seaford, Patchogue, Kings Park, a couple others around Long Island, and that was our test to market. So we were just serving it out of a dispenser and selling it by the cup. It wasn't even packaged yet. We were selling our whole bean roast, and we were selling our cold brew beverage. And it was received really well. And we had visitors that would come every weekend, grab a cup. All the vendors loved it. And we would put mailing lists together from all those markets. So when we did bottle it, which was October of 2015. And when we started putting it on shelves, that's when we started sending, started e-blasting, like, hey, you loved us at the farmer's market, now you could find us at, whatever.
And that leads to Mike. Mike Dowdy has another question about what stores are you in now on Long Island, and do you have one are you in Babylon?
In Babylon?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can find us at Jack Jack's Coffee Shop. You could find us at Soul Bowl, which is the acai bowl place. You could find us on tap at the Villager, Babylon Burger Bar, the Local. And as far as all of Long Island, all Whole Foods locations, Uncle Giuseppe's, North Shore Farms, Best Markets, and lots of bars, restaurants. If anybody wants to go to our site, sailawaycoffee.com, you could look at a full list of locations that you could either find us cans or on tap.
Got to throw that lower third up there, Frank. You have
Go,
that.
Frank.
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
Frank.
Oh,
It's gone.
is it really?
I need to remake
Okay,
it.
so just create
Okay.
another one. We'll talk. We'll create another one.
Yeah,
We'll just make another one.
we'll make another one. It's okay. We can do that. We have the technology.
It's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
Here's one of the things I like about your story, which goes part and parcel with all this entrepreneurialism, is you need to put yourself in the path of traffic.
Yeah.
And when you put yourself in the path of traffic, people will begin to find you. Do you believe that marketing is just as important as the product?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Look, obviously the product has to be a standalone product. It's got to be great. But I mean, look, there's plenty of products out there that obviously aren't great, and they're huge because they're investing thousands and millions of dollars into advertising. So does it necessarily have to be great in order for it to, be successful? No. But our approach is, and obviously you've known us for a while, it's been like a very grassroots approach. So, we did very organic type marketing, events, fairs, festivals, store demos, music events, just anything that we were in the face of public. So like low cost, high impact type events, like nothing beats that. And for us, there's an education to be had with what our product is. It's not it's not an iced tea, it's not a sparkling water, especially when we first started out, people didn't know what it was. People didn't know what cold brew coffee was. So there was education to be had, and I think one of our vantage points was that we're a young company, and it was a very homegrown company. It still is, and I think that's what people are most receptive towards. So our disadvantage was our advantage of, just we could only afford to do small events.
Right.
We didn't have an advertising budget, and that led us to just do whatever we could to be in front of people, and definitely was a huge springboard.
What makes you unique?
Our biggest point of differentiation is, it's the smoothest coffee you'll ever have.
What does that mean?
It means that normally, what do you think when you think coffee or
Bitter.
iced coffee? Yeah, bitter, astringent. Ours, you could crack open. This is dairy-free. This one has a tiny bit of sugar in it, but even on our unsweet, it's just very smooth.
It's
very
still low in
mild.
carb.
Yeah, yeah,
Even the one with sugar is low in carb.
yeah. 7 grams, 30 calories. So that's like our biggest point of differentiation. That's what makes us special, is that it's a product that you could crack open and drink, and you don't need to douse with creamer. You don't need to douse with sugars. It's just a very smooth, drinkable product.
How much has the company grown since those early days of the farmer markets and stuff?
Yeah, night and day. Yeah, absolutely night and day.
Let's look at it in terms of, we won't look at terms of dollars, let's look at it in terms of how much stuff you sell, how much you sold then, and how much, like, by, I don't know how you do it, by gallon, by, I don't know. How do you, what's the...
Yeah, so when we released our cans, we started out in bottles of just flat cold brew coffee. So it was by the bottle. And then we, later on that year, we released our Nitro on tap, and we started selling to bars and restaurants around Long Island. So it was like two completely different avenues. We had our bottles, which were growing. We did, it was growing, but our tap sales were exponentially higher. So naturally, the next move was, we need to figure out how to can this. We need people to take that experience that they were getting at the bar and restaurant, be able to stick it in their fridge. So March of last year is when we released our line of nitro cold brews, and that's what completely like transformed the company.
Really?
Yeah,
What happened?
just triple.
Have you tripled your sales in 1
Yeah.
year?
Yeah, since from when before we released it. Yeah.
One of the
So-
biggest things that an entrepreneur has to deal with when they're growing a company, which is just as critical as succeeding or failing, is scaling.
Yeah.
And if you don't scale your company properly,
Yeah, and that's something we're still learning. Like, so we're like what I describe as we're like the top of the bottom floor right now. So we're like that top of that small scale homebrew. Like we're doing good volume, but the next move has to be put in a position to be able to scale. Like our next investment of equipment has to get us way further, marginally speaking, than what our equipment now does. It's got to
Right.
be set up to where if we get called on a national account, we got to be able to fill that PO. So it's sort of setting ourselves up to scale, and that's something we're transitioning to now.
have you had any? You must have had some failures along the way.
Yeah, sure.
I know for me, I failed more than I succeeded. What were some of the failures you've had, and how do you overcome the failures?
Failures. Failure is a strong word. I don't
How
know.
about
If
disappointments?
disappointments. Every day there's disappointments. There's disappointments of why aren't we, why don't we have further distribution? Distribution's probably a big part of it. It's like why don't we want that national distribution? We want Northeast. We want deeper New York City distribution. So it's like we want to expand our channels, and finding that right partner is probably the toughest. We've had different distributors come and go because it's just like poor management, at the end of the day. So finding someone to represent the product like my internal team would is the hardest challenge, and that's part of scaling too. So you
That's
can't
very hard.
scale if you can't find someone who's representing the product like we are, selling it like we are,
Right.
marketing it like we are. So that's like the biggest challenge.
They have to believe in it.
Yeah, but even you could believe it, but if you don't know how to I don't know. It's still hard to describe, but finding the right partners to manage it, to sell it, and and to scale it alongside of it, that's like the hardest part. Yeah, so I would say, but failures. Yeah, I don't know if we've. Knock on wood, we haven't really had a failure yet, but it's everything's been on the right track. And
That's great.
It's manageable, and yeah, sometimes things are difficult to manage.
How do
but-
you know when to go to that next step, like to that where we're going to scale it? Like,
Well, it's continuing to build how we're building, and I
so
think
it's organic.
It's organic, and I think it will just eventually it just keeps doubling down. So it's just the growth keeps multiplying. So, if it just keeps multiplying, doubling year over year over year, that's a nice build.
Yeah.
It's not good to me. It's not good to build too quick. Cultivating is the most important part of like our business model. So, whereas like I said, we've grown the company off of marketing and talking firsthand with like Long Islanders and educating them. We were the first nitro brew you ever had. Like that speaks volumes, and that's what we've built the company on. So cultivating, and at the end of the day, we could be a successful business and only be on Long Island,
Mm-hmm.
only New York City. Like everybody wants to be here. So let's just focus on building this brand here and becoming the best, best brand we can be, and ground ourselves here before we even think about moving anywhere else.
How many employees do you have now?
5.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, 5 besides myself.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, when you as you expand,
6.
it's going to be like
Yeah, 6.
6 and then 16 and then
Yeah,
60
yeah.
and then 160 and then 500. It could get very big.
Yeah, but yeah, it's small team is crucial in keeping things manageable, and being a small company, definitely everyone wears several different hats. But that's the nature of it.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I would hope that we've achieved what we want on Long Island in New York, which is becoming a household name, and just becoming, being on the forefront of, cold brew and Nitro Cold Brew, expanding our line even further.
What time is it?
It is 6:09.
Okay, so we're not going to be on too much longer, but I think we should play his commercial, that little story, and
Yeah.
talk about it.
Your commercials.
Where'd you get it?
We're
On YouTube?
production. Yeah, we're
It's
production
great.
people.
I
but
mean,
and
it's
so we know.
really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really
That
well
was-
done.
He has an Emmy too, so. that means
Really?
something.
He does have an Emmy.
Who?
You.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
So
I never got it because they didn't want to pay for it, so you have to buy your Emmy, so.
So
Never knew.
Yeah.
go ahead
And it's a
play that
local Emmy
commercial.
anyway, so that's right.
If we think we want to talk through it, put the mics off for now.
Off?
Yeah, mics off now.
Okay.
Let's play it. There's some verbiage in this commercial, right? Where
Yes.
she
Yes,
speaks.
a little
as-
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
How can I help you?
What do you got?
How about something dangerously smooth?
Sounds perfect.
Help yourself. New celery nitro horchata cold brew with vanilla bean and cinnamon. It's dangerously smooth.
That's a great commercial. Joe, agreed?
I think it's wonderfully done. My question about it is, when we watched it, your sail away. Why did you do it in a desert?
It was, it just fits with the brand of the beverage.
Okay.
So horchata,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay, because I'm going by
You were
sail
looking at
away,
it going, well, wait a minute, sail away coffee.
but I
has a long
didn't
line.
realize that the horchata.
Yeah, that's exactly why. So,
Okay.
horchata is, traditionally a Mexican
Okay.
drink. Yeah.
It's very well done. It
Thank
really
you
is,
so much. Yeah,
It
it was a
really
lot
is.
of fun making that.
Yeah.
Where did
Good.
you shoot it?
We shot it out in 29 Palms, California, which is right outside Joshua Tree.
Right.
A buddy of ours built his own Airbnb out there, and his property, that's pretty much all of his property that we shot it on. So yeah, we were actually thinking about shooting it in Oaxaca, Mexico,
Uh-huh.
but the logistics to that would have been a nightmare.
Right.
And it was the perfect opportunity to go out there and shoot.
Should put it on the air.
Yeah, put it down.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really done well done.
Thank you.
Can we try any of these?
Yeah, sure. So this is our Nitro Cold Brew. This
Which
is
one
our
do you-
subtly sweet.
Which
Uh,
one do you recommend we try?
Well, you've only got one option here.
Oh, I think
There was other
three of them.
cases in
I
the
didn't
car.
know they were
No,
upside
they're all
down,
the
so I
same.
wasn't-
They're all
I
the
wasn't
same.
sure.
Make me feel like a jerk. Note to self.
Yeah, so it's infused with nitrogen, and that's what gives it the nice frothy texture.
Yeah.
So if you give it, I'll do it for you, so you'll learn. So it's a learning process.
Okay.
Yeah. So you give it three light shakes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and then give it like a slow crack.
This expensive green
There you
screen.
go.
I'm just like, Do I open it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
No, you don't open it.
Well, I
How
didn't
you
see
gonna
him
drink
open
it if you
his.
don't open it?
And now what? Just drink it?
I think so.
You know, you had mentioned that they're not very, they're not sweetened, right? There's only that one flavor that is sweetened.
That is a sort of, so we have an unsweet. This is the
Try, it's
sweetened,
good.
which is only 7 grams of cane sugar, and sea salt and caramel. And then we just released the horchata on April 11th.
Because I usually don't like sugar in my coffee, and that's what I like about yours.
This
is
is
they're
good.
Very drinkable without sugar. It's
Yes.
super smooth.
Or dairy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Drink
that's
it black
pretty
and it's
cool.
smooth. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
Thank you.
You're getting the look.
There you go. That's that twinkle I was looking for.
Okay, Frank, do you have any like
Yeah.
like little twinkles you could throw
Yeah,
in?
right.
An overlay of
Birds
twinkles?
flying around.
That's right. It's really good.
You'll stars in your eyes.
Yeah.
What do you do if you don't like
Now,
something?
how many flavors are there?
So the horchata was the 4th in the line.
Okay, and what are the other 3?
Unsweet, sweetened,
Right.
and sea salt and caramel.
Sea salt. Okay.
Is that sweet, sea salt and caramel?
Same sweetness level, same 7 grams, 30
Do
calories.
you taste the sea salt and caramel?
Yeah.
Oh, I really
Yep.
would like to try that.
And who comes up with the tastes? Do you come up with that, or you guys just kind
It's
of?
definitely a collaborative effort. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's
Really
pretty cool.
good. It's very different. I do not like unsweetened coffee, and this is really good.
I do,
Well, that's subtly sweet, but
but
it's got a little bit of cane sugar
Yeah,
in it.
right, right.
But I like a bolder coffee. Is there something like that that's going to come down the pipe for you guys? Or?
As far as a boulder,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely something that's been talked about for sure.
What about decaf?
Man,
Come on, Cliff. It's coffee. You know. Don't want to
Yeah.
feed the placebo. You want to have coffee.
yeah. To me, the logic is it's like a craft brewery coming out with
Right.
a non-alcoholic beverage, and it's like one of those things. Is like if we come out with it, how many people are going to drink it?
Right.
You know, it's
I would.
so
You
we'll,
and
we'll
the-
make a
and that
couple.
other guy.
What's
Yeah.
that?
You and that other guy would drink it.
We'll
The
see.
one other guy.
We won't rule it out. We'll see.
It's almost like when you develop, like our software here, they don't make for the Macintosh. They only make it for the PC. And it will never be made for the Macintosh, unfortunately.
Doesn't fit their demo.
It doesn't fit their demo. But also PCs handle live streaming much better than Macintoshes. Macintoshes can't handle live streaming the same way. Not as powerful. But I'm still a little bit upset with what I see. We're red now, so we're okay. But okay, so I'm a young entrepreneur. I'm out of college, full of pea and vinegar, as they say in the biz, and I want to become a successful entrepreneur. Give me some tips.
Yeah, well, first the vision, right? So it's you have to have that. You know, what's your site like? Where do you want to be? And for me, it was becoming a household name. You know, on Long Island. So it was like Long Island first. Like, how could we make our home? You know, sow our oats here and be in every store and get
So the
into
first
the
one's a
Whole
goal.
Foods. Yeah, it's got to have that goal. What's that? You know, you got to have a vision, and not like an end game, you know, but some sort of vision of like what are you looking to achieve? You know, and for us, it was becoming a household name and getting as many Long Islanders to know our name as possible and to get into those crucial stores and be in every town and be able to spitball. You know, tell me where you live. You know, I want to be able to name you 5 locations. And then like conquer New York City. So for us, it was to become a, you know, heavily rooted Long Island, New York brand. So yeah, I would say vision and having that, you know, where do you want to do with this? Where do you want to take it?
Passion, finding your passion.
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're not passionate about what you do, like, there's not, especially in this stage in the game, there's not a whole lot of reward. You know, it's hard work and a lot of like tough decisions, and you know, you're really and those little bit moments of, you know, when you achieve like what you want to achieve in those doses, it's like that's the payoff.
Perseverance.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing like, because if you don't love what you do, it gets really tough and really trialing. And that's definitely part of the reason that, you know, kept me going through the rough times. And not that I'm through that at all, but, you know, sometimes periods are definitely rougher than others. So yeah, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, what you have, and I think it's just a formula for disaster. You're going to give up and waste
Dealing
your
with
own time.
challenges.
Yeah. So you got to be able to deal with challenges. You got to have a vision. You got to, you know, perseverance, like you said. I think creativity is big. I think especially in this day and age of, you know, social media, and you got to have like that vision of what story you telling your audience. What you had branding is everything. You know, who's your audience, who are you speaking to, and one thing that probably I've learned more, you know, within the past like year or two is it's equally as important to think ahead. Like thinking ahead's big, because time flies so fast, and like things hit you at the, you know, at quick moments. So it's just like thinking ahead and where do you want to be in a year? What do you want to do in a year? And like, let's start making the steps now to be there.
Right.
And I think that's, you know, comes back to the idea of scaling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like you got to have the now under control and the
Right.
wheels turning, and be thinking about like a year from now and how are we going to get there? How are we going to build the steps? Because
Right.
you're not going to figure that overnight. You know, you're not going to figure out how, okay, we need a sales team in the Northeast, and we need merchandisers and marketing, and, you know, that stuff that I'm thinking now, like what I want a year from now. And it's like taking the steps now to get there.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's staying focused here at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you being on with us this evening. I know it was short notice. You were a good sport for coming on. We're going to have you on again, should you desire to be on again.
I would love to. I'll bring all flavors next time.
And even putting up with our shenanigans here in the studio.
It's all
I'm
good.
sorry for two things, that you didn't get to meet Lori Kay, our usual comment
Who
person.
has chimed in? She says, "Oh my God, Joe is the new Lori."
Lori, you have some competition. I might even ask Joe out on a date.
Yeah, oh, please, come on now. I said I can't replace Lori.
Get in line. Everyone
Thanks,
wants to
Frank-
go out
Frank
with
J.
Joe
Parisi.
Lavolsi. Yeah. Well, Lori Kay, we're so glad you joined us. I'm sorry that you joined late, but I know you were busy with strands of hair.
Right.
But
I'm
so
lost again. I don't know who we're talking to.
Lori normally sits here and does the comments.
She handles all the comments.
I'm
Okay.
normally.
She's a very attractive young
Yes.
lady, and she's a hairstylist.
Nice.
And so we were desperate, and we got Joe.
Yeah, wow.
We were going to try to get him a Lori Kay wig,
Yes.
but he looked horrible.
Yeah.
So, but Lori will probably, I don't even think Lori's on next week. I think she's teaching again next week. We lost her again. Is that true, Lori? So, but we appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
Also putting up with all the shenanigans here. And we will be on next Monday. I don't know if Lori Kay's on here. We're hoping Joe Lavolsi will come back and be our our chat manager, if you will. Chat manager and director of photography.
I could do that. I think I could do that next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only if Lori Kay is not here.
Right, only if Lori Kay.
'Cause I'd
But I
have to
could still be here. You know?
Lori Kay gets the views.
That's correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Although, who's Ryan Heibendahl?
Ryan Heibendahl.
What's up, Ryan? Ryan's my right hand.
Okay, he
he's
said
still
he's
watching.
So, he said he's so cute. I don't know whether that means me or whether that means Cliff or you, Chris.
Maybe
It's
himself.
Cliff. He
It's
means
just
Cliff.
Cliff?
Yeah,
Okay.
he sees me every day. He's not talking about me.
Yeah. I'm very hot for a creepy old man. You know what I mean?
Thanks for watching, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan, thank you. We appreciate you. Whatever camera Ryan's watching in, Ryan, thank you for watching the show. So we have the credits rolling. We have the credits somewhere, do we, Frank?
Yes.
You didn't lose them this week?
They did not get lost.
Thank the Lord. And we will see you next Monday at 5:30 p.m. Oh, be sure to hang around because at 7:30 tonight, the BYG boys, Corey and Mike Winkoff, will be here to give you all the golden nuggets of lacrosse and what's going on. So we'll see you next week. Bye.